Welcome back to another video, guys. Today I'm going to dig into my DIY hydro assist setup on my Jeep, how much money I saved versus buying a pre-built kit, and if it was worth it. So if you're the type of person that's on a budget and you're not scared to get your hands dirty, this video is for you. Well guys, as you can see, I just got it done. Went for a drive. It steers really good. So what I'm going to do in this video is a breakdown of everything that I did, all the parts I used, how much it costs. We're going to compare it to some kits. It's not really going to be a how-to as far as installation goes, but it's more like a guide on how to get going on doing it yourself. So let's rewind this and I'll show you how I did it. So no way am I trying to bash on PSC or Rdneck RAM. I'm just really cheap and I really enjoy finding ways to do stuff myself and save money. In fact, the PSC kit's gonna actually be a lot higher quality than the stuff I'm using here. And it's sort of like a plug and play system. I mean, there's still work to do, but it comes with most of the stuff done. It's also around $1,800 at the time of filming this video, which is kind of out of the budget for a lot of people. The Rdneck RAM starts around $750, and it's not too much different from what we're doing here. They just kind of do the work for you. You either send them in your steering box to get ported out, or they send you one that's already done and you send them yours as a core. Comparatively, this entire setup that I built only cost about 350 bucks, and that's with adding a few bells and whistles that aren't really required. So here's a quick look at all the components. There will be links down in the video description below to everything I use and where I got it from. All the hydraulic components came from Surplus Center: the ram, the hoses, and the fittings, which amazingly they had everything in stock. It's super low price and they shipped it fast, which is kind of awesome in today's world. These parts total up to about $200 unless you buy a bunch of spares like I did, then it's a little bit more. But everything I put on the screen right here is the minimum of what you're gonna need. So the rest of the stuff I got on Amazon, including the 2 taps, the fluid cooler, the hose sheathing, the magnetic filter, and the steering box rebuild kit. And that kit was Edelman part number 8521 for a Jeep YJ. Even though most of these steering boxes are kind of the same on these Jeeps, some of them have a slightly different kit number. So check the Edelman.com website, figure out which one you need, and then you can just buy it on Amazon for like 20 bucks. So instead of welding tabs to my tie rod, I ended up building a steering clamp out of a Barnes 4-wheel drive 1.5-inch tube clamp that they had. I cut some tabs out of some scrap steel, welded them to that. I now have a double shear tube clamp / steering clamp, and the tabs on the axle side I made myself out of scrap as well. And all that is in a different video I did a couple weeks ago. So I can't stress this enough. Before you start on this, make sure everything is exactly how you want it with your steering. This is kind of why I fell down a rabbit hole with mine before I got going on the hydro assist, because I wanted to fix a bunch of stuff up. I switched to high steer, I built a front truss, I got the steering stops all dialed in on my Jeep. So you're gonna end up saving yourself in the long run by correcting any of these nagging issues before you start on the hydro assist instead of wait until afterward. So anyway, all that stuff I did, there's other videos about that on my channel. Check that out after this. At a bare minimum, you'll need to drill and tap your steering box for the hoses, but I kind of look at this as a good time to rebuild your box at the same time. It's not terribly hard, but it's not easy either. Take your time and watch the Bleepin' Jeep video like 5 or 6 times like I did. Thanks, Matt, and you'll get her done. The kit I use is about 20 bucks, and by fully disassembling the box to rebuild it, you eliminate the chance of leaving metal shavings inside compared to just drilling and tapping only, which you can do, but I don't recommend it. So you will want 2 of the pipe taps. They're 1/4-18 TPI or threads per inch. And these are tapered, so they're not the same as your regular bolt taps. On the lower hole that you have to put in the steering box, it's really shallow, and what ends up happening is you can't get the tap in there far enough before it bottoms out to cut the threads enough. So that's why it's handy to buy 2 taps. You get it started with the first one, you take the second tap and you cut the first 3 or 4 threads off of it, and then you put it into those threads that are already partially started and you can finish it out. Now be careful because you can go too big here to where you'll never get your fitting tight. That's actually what happened to me, and then I ended up having to weld my fittings in. So I use 1/4 MPT to JIC6 fittings on the steering box. From everything I can tell, JIC6 is basically the same as -6 AN. Do your own research on that though, but that's what I came up with when I was reading. So if you have AN fittings, that should work too. Both of the hydraulic hoses are 3/8 inch with JIC6 swivel fitting on them. I got one 36-inch long and one 30-inch long, plus a couple spares. And I also grabbed some sheathing off of Amazon to protect it from rubbing any holes in the hoses. So moving on, the hydraulic ram is an 1.5 bore, 8-inch stroke, 1-inch rod diameter ram from Surplus Center. I got the one with the swivel ball variety. They have a few different styles, but the swivel ball is the one you're gonna want. Now, had I measured my tie rod ahead of time, I could have got away with a 6-inch stroke ram instead of an 8-inch. Keep in mind, different Jeeps with whatever axle you have are all gonna have a different measurement here, and it's really easy to figure it out. Find yourself a straight edge, clamp it above the tie rod, steer your Jeep all the way to one of your steering locks and make a mark on the tie rod right where that straight edge sits. Then steer all the way the other way, make a second mark. Measure the distance between those two marks. So if it's below 6 inches, get a 6-inch ram. If it's between 6 and 8 inches, then you need an 8-inch ram, and to limit it down. It's pretty easy to build the internal spacers that you need to limit the stroke of the ram down. And you can do it for the low cost of going in the kitchen and stealing your old lady's cutting board and cutting some plastic discs out of it. So once again, I did a video all about this and it's on my channel. I'll link to it at the end of the video. So the Surplus Center ram has SAE 6 threads, which are not self-sealing. So the fittings you get will come with O-rings on them. You can get straight 45 or 90-degree fittings, and you want SAE 6 to JIC 6 to match the hoses. They're only about $2 each per fitting, so I recommend getting a few spares and a few varieties to see what works best in your application. Toss the rest in the glove box in case you ever need a spare. So the other stuff I got was totally optional. We got the Porcupine fluid cooler, I got the magnetic fluid filter. Both of those are going to be installed in the return line. It's not totally needed. However, hot fluid will make your power steering pump cavitate, and cavitation is the easiest way to kill your power steering pump. So to me, this stuff was just cheap insurance. Once you have everything you need, it really goes together pretty easy. You'll need a welder to do the mounts yourself, and every application is different, so packaging is going to vary wildly based on the space you have available in your rig. I built a one-of-a-kind truss that went over top of my leaf springs to mount my cylinder off of. It's really as simple as locating center stroke on your ram, locate center steering, and buzz it in. So some people will argue and say that the factory power steering pump that comes on your Jeep doesn't make enough pressure or volume in order to run hydro assist, and that it will result in slow steering. Remember, the ram and the gearbox must move in unison, so it's going to be limited on speed to whichever one moves slowest, and that's always going to be the ram. A couple ways to alleviate this. One, you want to make sure you use at least 3/8 hoses. Don't use 1/4-inch hoses. And a lot of people, I've seen some write-ups that say use 1/4-inch hoses, but I'm telling you, you're not going to have enough flow that way. Another way to do it is to run a smaller power steering pulley, so that way it spins the pump a little bit faster at low RPMs when you're rock crawling, so that you can get your tires turned. You could also shell out the money for the PSC pump, which obviously is going to put out some more fluid than your factory pump. And lastly, and this is what I did, you can drill out the orifice in your factory power steering pump. And this literally takes like 4 minutes to do, and I'll show you that right now. So this is referred to as the West Texas pump mod. I think the same guys that make the Rdneck ram are the ones that came up with this mod, and it's just to allow a little bit more fluid volume into your system. Anyway, after your fluid is drained, you need a 5/8 wrench to remove the line, and then a 7/8 to remove the little orifice thing. I believe it has an 1/8 hole, so drill that out to 5/32, which is just a nut hair bigger than it comes stock. You really don't want to hog this out, or you're likely going to lose system pressure. Clean the metal shavings out, reinstall it in the pump, connect the line, and that's it. All in all, this is a great way to get hydro assist on your Jeep. It's just going to take a little bit of work on your end to get it done. So like I said, I just got this thing done. I just took it for a test drive. And so far it works great, but I've only tested it out on the street. But 1 week from today, I'm taking the Jeep four-wheeling. We're gonna test it out on the trail. I'm gonna make a video that day. I'm gonna post it right here when it's done. So subscribe to the channel so you can check back for that. In the meantime, hit that little thumbs up button. Maybe check out one of these videos over here, and I'll see you in the next one.